Hey guys, welcome back to Wicked Customs Garage, and today we're going to be putting these 10.5 inch narrow glide baby apes on top of these 6-inch risers that's already on it. It feels comfortable. I've already bolted them up once, and let's get into it. So what we're going to need to do this is we're going to need a Reed and Prince, which is a fat tip Phillips screwdriver. We're going to need a standard Phillips screwdriver. We're going to need a 5/32 Allen, which I have this for a ratchet. And then we're also going to need a 1/4 inch Allen. Also, another thing is, you need some side cuts, quartz the bars, and get a moving blanket. You can get these from just about anywhere. They're super cheap and it protects your bike. We're going to be laying that up the gas tank, so let's go ahead and get started. Safety glasses, we got our strippers, we got solder, and then we have our solder iron. We have heat shrink and Milwaukee's best, apparently, heat gun, and we got our bars over here. So we got our whole layout. Lay a couple towels down or even a rubber mat, and it's really going to make the process so much simpler. You're going to protect your bars whenever you are wiring them. I'll show you later on in the video. We're going to stuff the wires through here and then into here. So it's going to make that whole process so much easier, and it's going to be clean, easy done, and a clean workbench is always best. Another great thing for whenever you're doing your wires is get some of this power braid. I'm going to try to find some links and put it through. Now this power braid is great because it really cleans up the look, and not only that, but it also lets your wire slide through the bars so much easier. So whenever you're going and wiring up your bars through the bars, or wiring through the bars, sorry, it's going to go a lot quicker. It's going to go a lot smoother, especially if you have sharp bars, like sharp 90 degrees. It's going to really slide up, and that's where it really peaks its performance. So power braid, 10 out of 10, recommend. Alright, so first thing that you want to do whenever you are working on your bike, if you're doing anything on electronics, whether if it's swapping out a headlight or doing anything, always remove the battery. That is one thing that's absolutely necessary. So let's get into it. So we got our Reed and Prince. We're going to go ahead and take off the seat. Now that we have our seat off, we can go ahead and we're going to take off either the positive or the negative. I'm going to do the negative. It's easier for me to get to. Keep in mind, whenever you do take off the negative, you do not want it to be touching any sort of metal at all. You want it to be free floating in the air. So if you need to, take a zip tie, tie it up to some kind of tubing or anything that you can. Just make sure that the end of it is not touching anything, because it will ground out and it will make it hot and you can get electrocuted. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing this. Make sure that you take these extra precautions, because you do not want to get electrocuted. Alright, so next thing is we're going to go ahead, we're going to take our moving blanket, we're going to open it up, we're going to cover up the bike. Alright, so I got the front fender all covered up, I got the tank covered. And whenever you're doing the tank, really good trick is, if you can, double it over and make sure that you have that extra padding on there. It's not going to scratch up the bike unless you start like really moving it around. And then we also have it covering the battery, so yet again, nothing can go to the ground. So keep that in mind. Alright, so now it's time to go ahead and we're going to pull the headlight out, because all the wires run into the headlight housing unit. So it's very easy. There's 1 to 2 screws for the clamps. This chrome piece, these chrome pieces right here, these are your clamps. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pull those. We're going to pull the headlight. Alright, we got one of these rings off. Just want to show you guys, this is what it looks like. You just start unscrewing, and whenever we go to reinstall this, I'll go ahead and I'll show you guys another trick. You definitely want to keep these two separated, but now we're going to go ahead. You'll see that this is rubber. We're going to be pulling the headlight out and then disconnecting. Alright, we got our headlight off. This is glass. on this specific one, so be very careful and be very mindful if it is glass, but you know, be mindful even if it is plastic. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this on the workbench. As you guys can see, here's all of our wires right here. Get your turn signal blinker out, and then take your headlight plug in and kind of just move that off to the side. Alright guys, so next step is go ahead and get a bungee cord and hang it up from the ceiling. Then we're going to take the master cylinder off. We're going to hang that up. Then we're going to go ahead and take off the clutch lever assembly, and we're going to hang that up as well. You can let the clutch dangle. I don't know. We'll see whenever we get there. Alright, so we got these 2 screws right here, and it is a 5/32 Allen. You can use the T-handle or anything that you want. I'm just going to go ahead and use it on the ratchet. This way, we can just zip it right on off. It's always a great idea to have a magnetic tray, so whenever you pull these bolts out, you'll be able to put them in your magnetic tray, and if it knocks over or anything like that, it's going to stay right where it's at, and you're not going to be losing anything. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we could just take this bungee cord and just let it hang like that. But what we're going to do for extra security, and because we have a longer cord, is we're actually going to pull it up, wrap it around, and then hang it. This way it's up out of the way whenever we put the bars on. It's really going to keep it out of the way. So super easy, and it's just a preventive step. Same thing with pulling off the clutch lever assembly. It's just these 2 bolts, pull them out, 5/32 Allen. Alright, so we got that off. We're just going to dangle it for right now. We're going to use the same 5/32, and we're going to go ahead and pull these off. But first things first is I'm going to go ahead and I want to pull the grip. Alright, now that we got the grip off, we're going to go ahead and take off the switch housing. You got 2 different smaller nuts, or smaller bolts. One's right here, and then on the back in the center. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull these off, and I'll be back with you guys in a minute. Now, if it's through the bars, you don't have to do this step, so you could go ahead and skip it. But if you're going to take it from where it's external wires, then go ahead and remove this. It's going to make your life so much easier. Alright, so now that we got these 2 bolts out, we can go ahead and open this up, close it, and just for a little bit of extra protection, go ahead and make sure that's seated completely correctly, and we're going to go ahead and tighten these bolts back in just by hand. No need to get the wrench out or nothing like that. Keep in mind, there is in fact washers, so make sure that you keep the washers on there. Alright, now to pull off this throttle, now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to do a little bit of work on the throttle cables. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have a 3/8, and then I'm going to use an adjustable wrench, and we're going to use the adjustable wrench on the lock nut, and then we're going to use the 3/8 on this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bust these loose, and I'll get back with you later. So now with these cracked loose, you can go ahead and you can take your jam nut, and you want to run them all the way down as far as possible until they stop. Now they're both stopped, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to run these all the way down to the jam nuts. What this is going to do, it's going to put more slack in the cable, so you're not going to have any throttle. And that's going to make it easier for taking off the throttle tube. So you'll be able to take the wires off, the throttle wires off, and be able to actually pull this out, and then we'll be able to get to the wire. Also, we're going to have to pull these out too, but we're going to do that after we get this cracked out. I'll show you guys how to do that. It's the same as before. We got the one up front here to the side, and then we got this one right here. 5/32 still. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say that, but I want to make sure that you guys understand. For this bike specifically, it is a 5/32 Allen. Alright, now that we have both of these bolts out, we're going to go ahead and open this up, and you guys can't see, but there'll be these little things right here. So you got your throttle tube, your throttle wires, and you're gonna have these little things right here. You do not want to lose these at all. So go ahead and throw those in your magnetic tray. And go ahead and pull this one off too. Now with those off, you can go ahead and this will slide right off. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to take one of these nut bolts, these little screws right here, and for right now I'm just going to do the back one. And I'm just going to put the back one in for right now, kind of hold it together so we can go ahead and pull the throttle cables off. So now we got that touching. So now it's moving just a little bit, but it's going to hold it on. We're going to take our 3/8 and we're going to go ahead and loosen it right here. Loosen this up, and these are going to drop straight out. Go ahead and crack the other one while you're at it. You can do it individually, but go ahead and just save time. Try to get both of them done at the same time. Alright, now that we have these off, this one's still hanging on barely, so it's just barely getting caught up. So we're going to go ahead and just take off this nut right here, and then this is going to fall straight off. So you may or may not have enough room where you can really just pull off the wires. With this one, I can, I do believe. Yep. So that could save you a little bit of time. Just really watch the wires. You do not want to pinch any wires. So keep that in mind. Don't pinch any wires. Alright guys, so next step is we're going to be taking off the risers, or taking off the riser clamp, so we can move the bars. Remove the bars. Now with this one, yours may differ, but I have my speedometer up here. So you need to be very careful with that and be careful with the clamp and everything else. So we got our 1/4 inch Allen. That's the size for this. Yours may differ, but whatever size, just zip off the top two and then the bottom two. Alright, now whenever it just starts barely getting loose, this is one thing, this is going to save it, and this is actually protection. Now that it's just holding itself here, once you start really loosening up these bottom ones, which after I crack these top two, I crack these bottom two, you want to do this. This is going to save your tank, so please do this. Take your bars and lean it going forward, going all the way back. Do it slowly. It's not going to touch unless you have, like, you know, super tall bars and short risers or something like that. But yet again, that's why we have the protection. So even whenever we take this off, the bars ain't going anywhere. It's already got the gravity holding it down. So keep that in mind. So there's just another neat little trick. Now that we have the two bottoms still in, but the two top are out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this, and we're just going to lean it off to the side and make sure that it's not going to be hitting anything. Then onto the bottom, go ahead and crack these off. Or not crack them off, but we're going to go ahead and take them out. And whenever you are taking the bolts out, make sure you keep them in the same place that they came out of. Make sure you know which one goes where. So whenever you're putting it back together, you know, and it's going to go exactly the same place. So if this one's smaller than the front ones, here's the front, and then here's the bottom. They're the same size, so I don't really have to worry about it, but I still do it just because. So keep that in mind. That's another little trick. If you want to do it or not, that's up to you. Alright, so now we're taking off the last bolt. Put that there. Now we're going to take this out, and now our bars are free. Alright guys, so we're going to have to pull this off next, and these are 2 1/2-inch bolts. So grab a 1/2-inch socket and you'll be able to pull it out. And you can see right here, trying to get the light on there, whenever you try to move this back, it gets caught right where this bolts in. So you'll be able to see that on your bike. It just barely hits it, so you're gonna have to pull these out so you can pop out the wires. Pop out the wiring grommet. Alright, so I got the wiring grommets out. Went ahead and I put this bolt in just to hold this up. We already got the wires snipped off, pushed through. It's all in the headlight housing, like I said earlier. Make sure that you get all of these over. Like this is the clutch side, so all of the clutch sides on the clutch side, all the brake sides on the brake side. Alright guys, so I went ahead and did some soldering and got the extensions on. So now we got nice long extensions. Let's go ahead and show you. I did a little bit overkill, but you can always go back, snip it once you run it down into the headlight. It's always better to have too much than too little. So just go by that, honestly. And any of the scraps that you have, you can always go ahead and reuse them for other projects. But yeah, so got a little bit extra there. Got it all done up. So now what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to put the hand controls back on there, on the bars, and I'll get back with you guys here in just a second. Alright, so went ahead, got these on. It's looking pretty good so far. Alright guys, so now just tightening these up a little bit. I got the bars on. They're not exactly in the place that they're going to be in, but just to kind of get everything in place and in order. Now whenever I go to torque these, I'm going to start out with either or on the top. Start on one on the top and then do the bottom on the opposite side, and then go back to the top of that one and then do the other one on the opposite side on the bottom. So that's how you torque them up. I still got the headlight down. I gotta route out these wires, run them through the little clamp things, and put them through the headlight housing, and that's gonna be it for today. And then I'll pick it back up at some point, hopefully tomorrow. Alright guys, I'm putting in this last bolt right now. So I got these bars torqued down just for now, just enough to really hold it in place. You know, I can't wiggle it around or nothing like that. I still have to do the wiring part, actually connecting them, and after that, then we'll be able to stuff everything back in. So need to cut the wires. I'll cut them right about here, solder them into here, or else I'll use butt connectors. So I may use butt connectors. I found another wire. It's just an orange wire that was just lying in here, and the only thing that this bike actually has a problem with is the front brake light, and we diagnosed it down to that, I do believe. Also found out whenever we was doing the wiring extensions, we found out why the high and low beam, the high beam would work but the low beam wouldn't. There was a solder that was broke off, so more than likely that was the issue. So I'm going to go ahead and torque this down real quick. I'm not using any torque specs, just the German torque spec, good and tight. So now with this in place, I have the wires off to the side. So now I know which side's which. I got it through. I got the loom on here, so now it looks a lot neater. Let me show you guys. So now it's a lot neater now that these are actually through the bars, and got this through here. Got this back on. I need to get a new one, but it is what it is. And then as you can see, here's the wires just out of here, and then the wiring extensions, which is, you know, way too long right now, but I'll cut those down and then I'll save the rest of them for a different project, just to extend some wires, or if I need to do any other type of wiring. But yeah, she's coming along pretty good, and let's show you guys the bars real quick. just see how it's coming along. I can still take the master cylinder and put it on here. I have the clutch level, or clutch lever assembly on already. I got the grip on right here. I got this all together still, so I might pull this apart and put this on. But as of right now, that's kind of a wrap for tonight. And then tomorrow I'll get back at it, try to do the wiring a little bit, get the throttle cables on, then put on, reinstall the negative battery cable, put on the seat, and then put on the grips, put the master cylinder on, and if I have time, then maybe even bleed out the front brakes again. So that's the plan, and hopefully we'll be able to see how it fits me. Oh yeah, I also have to loosen these up and scoot it down a little bit, because as you can see, there's a little bit of a gap right there. But for now, that's it for tonight. So time to pack her on up and get some dinner in me. Alright guys, so we're back here the next day, and we're going to go ahead and start working on the Ironhead again. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and zip this off, and then we're going to go ahead and attach our throttle cables. Just to do it pretty quick, I'm just going to use the T-handle. I need the 5/30 seconds. Alright, now after we have these two screws undone, you'll be able to pull this over and to the side. Now determine which one is which. So this is the longer one. You go back here. So I'm going to put this through, and then I'll start tightening this up. And then this one, if you want to know which one's the front, it's the one that's actually lifting the throttle. Go ahead. I'm going to start screwing this one in too. This one screws in a lot easier right now. Remember, we still got these bottomed out, and I'll show you guys how to set those where we get our throttle in. This back one was kind of a pain whenever I was putting it in, so keep that in mind. You may have difficulties. So once we get those butted up, I do believe it's the 3/8. Yep, 3/8. And tighten it up. And don't crank it down too hard. Just tighten it down and then snug it. So not very hard. So another thing is make sure that the throttle cables are up and through, and make sure that they're in properly seated down here on the carburetor. And let's fix this real quick. That fell down. So now that we have these on, let me fix the camera. Alrighty, so now you guys can see right here and here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our grip. It's going to slide straight on and into here. So then I'm going to take these little brass retainers right here. We're going to start off with the front. And you don't have to, but that's what I do. And let's go ahead and just position this in place, and then twist the grip all the way forward, put it in that little groove, and that's going to hold it in place. So we grab our other one, do the same. Now, with the slit in the back, you want that to be facing backwards. So you want it facing toward the back of the throttle. So it'd be facing this way. So now there's going to be a little bit of slack in here, just to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. Just go ahead and tighten this up. So just run the nut with your finger, and it's just going to pull that little bit of that slack out. That's just for now. That's not how you actually adjust it or anything like that. But we're just going to adjust that so it doesn't fall out like it's wanting to. Now with that being said, now what we got to do, make sure this is all together. You see there's still that slack in the cable. We're going to push this all the way towards the center as far as it can go. Then we're going to take our 2 nuts, or 2 bolts, put those on the T-handle, and then start zipping them down. Get it lined up. And try to get it right where you're going to want it, which is seems right about there. Make sure it's slid all the way forward. Now with that 1 bolt in, you can go ahead and tighten it up just a snug, and then go ahead and throw the back one in. Right about there. Now, how we're going to do this is we're just going to back this down to about halfway. Now if you got a little bit of rust on there, that's perfect, because that's going to let you know a pretty accurate place. Now it's stiff up front, and there's still a little bit in the back. So what you want to do is you want to rip it all the way back. You don't want to do half bit thinking that you're going to flood it. Go all the way back. You can do it as much as you want. It's not going to pump anything up into it, unless you got some in the bowl, which I know there's nothing in the bowl of this. And this is sliding straight back. There's a little bit of play. And turn it about a 1/4 turn. It's just a little bit of play. Now you don't want to have all the play gone. That seems about perfect, but if you do it too much, I'll show that too. You see it's not snapping back. Let's back this off a little bit. And that's snapping straight back even if I hold it. So, right there is just about perfect. There's no wobble in it. Just tighten up, or get the jam nuts down to the nut. And then get your 3/8 and your adjustable. I like using the adjustable on the jam nut. This way it's just quicker and easier. And then squeeze it together. You want to make sure that you only have it on the jam nut, of course, so you could go ahead and tighten it up properly. There we go. So now, these should be tight. You shouldn't be able to move them at all. And test this a few more times. Rip it all the way back, let it off, and then let it off slow. And this is perfect. This is right where I need it. It's right where I want it. So go ahead and put your tools down. Next thing is we're gonna go ahead and put the brake on the master cylinder. Alrighty, we got the master cylinder on, so we can go ahead and hang it up. Hang this back up, get that out of the way. So now that we got both these levers on, still have to extend the wires. We already went ahead and checked them all. So pretty much, I mean, we're almost done, but just as a little teaser, I'll go ahead and take this all off and I'll grab the seat real quick. Alright, so take the seat, straight on, Make sure that it does. And I gotta move my tools. Alright, so let's check it out. Throw this peg down. I got it supported very well. So I'm just trying to find that perfect place. I see that the bars have to come over just a little bit. So with it being a little loose, I can always do that. Just like that. Just push over, wiggle it. That seems almost, I might have to loosen it just a little bit to get it, but as of right now, this is feeling pretty good. So let me go ahead and move that, and then I'll go ahead and tighten it down. Alright, now that I got her straightened up and tightened up, I've noticed something. Notice because it's in the wheel clamp, whenever I go to turn this, I noticed that these need to be tightened up. So I guess I'm going to go ahead, grab the wrench, and tighten that up for the risers. Alright, so it is a 3/4, and now I'm just going to snug them up. Alright, I got these tightened down. So, let's go ahead, throw a leg up on it, over it. It helped a bit. Then you can see from where I'm standing that the bushings are a little worn out. But that's what you get for something that's sat for this long. You know, it sat for 13 years whenever I first bought it. It's been sitting for 14 years before I got to ride it. So, although it's a pretty cool story, and it's cool to get my hands on, and it's cool that I got to work on it, there's still a few things that's just not worth it to skip over. So whenever you're getting stuff, you definitely want to make sure that you get everything that you're really touching and everything mechanically kind of sound before you really take it out on the road. So I'll get some more, or I'll get some new riser bushings, and I'll have to install those at some point before I hit the road. But I still got, you know, new tires that I gotta get. I got the rim bands, I have the tubes, I just need to get the tires. I'm gonna get white walls for this. I think it's really gonna make the bike pop, especially now that we got 16.5 inches of lift. These are 10.5 inch rise bars off of a newer narrow glide Sportster. And yeah, I mean, this feels pretty comfortable to me. I mean, it's got mid pegs, or it's got mid controls, but it has forward pegs. And even if I flip out the pegs, this feels just right. So, for me personally, this 16.5 works perfectly because it's got 6-inch risers on top of 10.5 inch bars. So 16.5 in total. So even if they were half an inch higher or half an inch lower, they'd still feel great. But to me, the 16.5 really feels great to the hands and to my shoulders. It's relaxed. It's not out forward, you know, but it's right there. It feels absolutely perfect. Got the perfect snap of the throttle. My clutch is feeling just perfect, and my brakes right where I can grab it, grab a hold of it. So I couldn't be any more happier than this. So with the riser bushings, you could go ahead and get the rubber ones, and what that's going to do is it's just going to soften the actual the vibrations to the bars. It'll soften it a bit, but they don't last that long, which these, I know that they are. These are most definitely rubber bushings, and they're worn out. The polyurethane, they last for a lot longer. I mean, I think that there's even some that are brass that work pretty good too. So we'll see what I can find for this, and I'll get the polyurethane or the brass, who knows, because I don't mind it shaking my arms like a freight train, because that's what I'm looking for in this bike. I want it to shake, you know. I want that old school vibe to it. That's why, I mean, I got these old circle mirrors and everything else, because it's perfect. Let's go ahead and just adjust these. I mean, I can see right over my shoulder easily. Yeah, this is absolutely perfect setup. It looks amazing. I may even flip these down and try that. If you want to do that, it's an easy mod and it looks clean. Just take a 1/2 inch wrench, spin this off, flip them, and then put them upside down. So this one would be down here, and this right one would be over here on the left. So you take them, flip them, stick them up. If that makes sense. Super easy. So I don't know. I'll try that eventually, but for tonight, that's it. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Alrighty, guys. So we got all the wiring extensions out. And then we did the soldering, stuffed them all back in. There's a few things that we had to splice into, but I didn't get that on camera. But yeah, we got her all back up and put it all back together. Went ahead and checked all the electronics. So now, one of my problems that I did have before is I didn't have a low beam. Now I have high and low, which is great. Got a horn. Turn signals. Both are working. Now, I have the speed nut that I have to put on. If you would go ahead and hit the brake. That's the front brake, and the rear brake is now working. But yet again, I got to get the speed nut on, and then that'll hold it in place. I'll get a video of that shortly. But yeah, I did a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of polishing, and check her out. And then I'll pull it. Or maybe it's just gonna fall. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.